we're gonna get started in just a second. Okay, so we're good to go on YouTube. Let me check Twitch real fast. Yep. Okay. I'm just gonna tweet real quick. Okay. So we're starting a bit late tonight. I had to take care of some stuff. I was actually working on the YouTube channel, like creating an intro video for the discussion series. And I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how that's going to work. But we shall... Marvel... Okay, alright, I think we got all the admin stuff out of the way.
Welcome back, sir.
So, okay, so I think we're good to go. Yeah, so as I was saying, we're starting a bit late tonight because I got, I was up really late last night editing the first video for the breakout discussion series. So my plan is to have the raw streams in one playlist that's separated out by game, and then to have a separate playlist in YouTube of just the discussion portions of these videos, of these streams, titled and numbered. And so I've been working on creating an intro video for that playlist. and I was working on it for hours. I'm not very experienced when it comes to video editing, so it took me a while to even do basic stuff. Um, I have used the software before. I use a free software called Shotcut, and actually, okay, let's take a look at this real quick. So we got Black Panther up to level. We got him up to power 130 base, and I have +3 um, on the major artifact. So he's level 42, so that'll just grind up as we go. Um, so we get specialty gear from completing his vibranium operative. I think it's too late to do Mega Hive tonight because we're starting so late. We're just getting started right now. There is the villain sector that'll give us legendaries, but I kind of wanted to exotic farm tonight. I don't think we're ready to do the OLT yet. Okay, let's start with this. So we have to defeat enemies with light or heavy combo enders while Bast's Chosen is active. Okay. Vibranium threat sector. We do get the resource. Yeah, Mega Hive's just gonna take way too long. Elite Hive. I guess we could do an Elite Hive. Oh wait. Priority threat sector. Oh, we do get exotic. Is that a potential or a guarantee exotic? Seven power above. Well, let's do this. And I'll just boost up my power a couple of levels. So I finally finished editing the intro video. I uploaded it to YouTube, so I'm gonna publish it probably tomorrow. Let's see. Oops. It did it twice. Oh, no, wait. What? I thought I only clicked it twice. Weird. Okay. Whatever. I'll take it. The 136 is fine. I do want to have these perks unlocked though, at least. So let's do get them up to 133 first. I have a ton of resources, so I don't really care about burning some of them.
Recent intel suggests AIM is running further illicit projects in Venture Ridge. I suggest we pay the town a visit to disrupt them and remind Monaco.
So whenever I get focused on a task like a video editing or something like that, like working on the channel, I tend to get completely sucked into it and lose track of time. So I was working on the video. I finally uploaded it to YouTube, and I looked at the clock, and it was already 10:30. And I was intending to actually start streaming early tonight, since I didn't even do a stream last night. I had a medical issue come up over the weekend, and so I was just too tired to stream last night. So I ended up just working on the video. And that completionist part of me really felt like I needed to get it done, so I did. Oh, excuse me. So that feels good. I am still planning to stream tonight, tomorrow night, Thursday night this week. So I'm hoping that last night's the only night I'm gonna have to miss.
Prime areas to target. Stand by.
I'm gonna lower myself a little bit there. There.
Disable the nearby hypercircuit station. There is a chest with gear close by.
Do not be intimidated. Do not drive.
I mean, I might as well just be supering as much as I can, right? So we are going to do discussion tonight. We'll probably start that in about 15 minutes or so. I just want to get playing for a little bit first. So I definitely have more ranged gear. So I've got light combo finishers inflict gamma. Ranged attacks do plasma. Okay.
I have marked the station's location on your HUD. There is an elite AIM unit near you. Defeat them, and you may gain something useful.
Great
What? I was shielded that whole time. And I had full energy too. How did that work?
All right, let's do this.
Oh, he can pounce people mid-air? That's awesome.
Take a bow, folks.
There's a chest with special resources.
This guy
close
probably
your
wants to get
location.
gear because he's not 130 yet. I don't think. So anybody in chat, Destiny 2 player? Did you guys see the reveal today?
The hyper
Pretty snazzy. I got to admit, I've been out of the Destiny realm for a while. I played the last expansion, Beyond Light, for probably about a month after it came out, and that was back in gosh, I think that was back in November, wasn't it? November 10th, I think. So I played it until just before Christmas, and I have not touched Destiny since then. So it kind of got me hyped to maybe pick up this season. For sure to play the expansion when it comes out next year, which is not for another 6 months. So we got some time, but kind of getting that Destiny itch again. As far as content on this channel, I'm thinking, you know, we're gonna have a few streams of Avengers this week just to try to get some exotics for Black Panther. And that was kind of my personal commitment, was to level him up all the way and check out some of the content with him. But like, I don't think this expansion, the Wakanda expansion, was enough to really keep me interested for a long time. I think it's enough to kind of, you know, play the campaign, level up the new hero, play the event. I hardly even want to say that the Vibranium thing's an event, but technically it is. That's what they're calling it. And then just, you know, grind out some exotics, maybe try to beat the OLT, and then probably set it down for a while. This game really is in desperate need of some true endgame. Like better repeatable and targeted grinding, and just a lot more challenging content for players that have leveled up their heroes to max level. Like right now we have an OLT and Mega Hives. And Mega Hives are really just kind of a brutally long
You destroyed the power core.
mission that doesn't feel very rewarding, or it doesn't really respect the player's time all that much. Between players disconnecting frequently and how long the mission takes, I think you're guaranteed one exotic, or maybe 2 exotics at the end for your first time in a week, but then you can only run it once until reset. So I don't know. It's just a weird system. So they got work to do on this game. What's really sad is that it has so much potential. I mean, this game, like, the core combat loop is so fun, and, like, I think they have the right idea as far as the loot goes. It's just they need to implement better ways to grind for stuff. They need to have more exotics. They need to have much more endgame. Just reasons for us to max out our level, because right now there's not, that doesn't really exist. So I'd love to see. Oh, we gotta go upstairs. Okay. I'd love to see them make those changes. Oh, stop it. Okay.
Nicely done.
Not really much of an upgrade. Is this guy on PS4?
They never learn.
Look for a chest with gear nearby.
All right, let's do this. Leave this place or die. Feeling a bit ragged.
Okay. Whatever. That's fine. Hello? I was kind of hoping that that would do more damage later. Like, when I first got that ability, it felt pretty weak, and it's kind of always felt kind of weak.
Formidable. But we prevail.
How come it's not letting me stand on the plate? What? Okay. Why? He's already stepped on that one. Thank you.
They will regret challenging the Panda.
Sometimes there's an extra chest here. Not now. Alright, time to go.
Destroy the turbine. AIM has sent forces to stop you. That turbine is finished.
So I guess now is as good of a time as any to start our discussion breakout. So as I said before, we're going to be, I'm going to keep just the raw video of this stream on YouTube and on Twitch for as long as it'll stay up, until Twitch decides to purge their servers of all of our old VODs, which happens occasionally. But the permanent place to come and watch stuff is going to be on YouTube. So if you guys missed any content, every stream that I do on Twitch, I also do on YouTube, at least for the time being. So let's start our breakout for tonight. Let's start our discussion. Our discussion tonight is going to be on the problem of evil, and this was a topic that we have covered one time before, and we're going to come at it again from a somewhat similar but also slightly different angle. Hopefully we'll add some nuance for those of you that are watching for a second time. So the broader topic is, we've talked about Christianity, we've talked about what it takes to become a Christian, we talked about what Christianity is, we've talked about what salvation by faith through grace means, salvation by grace through faith means, and we've talked about a variety of other related topics to that. But one thing that we've spent a decent amount of time on so far is discussing the objections to Christianity, reasons why people just don't find Christianity appealing, or why they have argued against it or debated against it over the years throughout history. And so the topic tonight, which is the problem of evil, is one of those objections. It's one of the reasons why some people refuse to really give Christianity much of a fighting chance. And by extension, it's also something that causes a lot of people to not even be willing to believe in a loving God, because they see the evil and suffering in the world as contradictory to the idea of a loving, merciful, all-powerful God. And essentially the objection goes something like this. It's, and I'm not formulating this in the strictly logical way that a philosopher would, for example, but I'm going to try to kind of formulate it in a everyday speak kind of way. So essentially the objection is, if that evil and suffering do happen in the world, a lot of it. So that's piece number one. Piece number two is that if a all-powerful, loving, merciful God existed, then he would be able to do something about at least some of the perceived unnecessary and excessive suffering and evil that exists in the world. The third piece is, he seemingly doesn't do anything about that excessive, unnecessary evil and suffering, and so part four, therefore, there is no God. So the argument and kind of the response to the objection tonight is going to be coming at it more from the angle of just general theism, not so much specifically Christianity, although we will touch on how Christianity in particular, which is a particular type of theism, affects our response to that question, because there are additional tools that Christians have for responding to this objection that just a general theist wouldn't have. So that's to kind of that sets up basically the argument or the objection, and oftentimes from what I've seen just in talking to people and reading things, is that most of the time the objection is somewhat emotional in nature. People oftentimes experience evil or suffering in their own life, and so they just can't find it in them to trust that a God that loves them could exist in the midst of the trials that they're experiencing in life. They would think, well, how, God's just so cruel for allowing me to go through this, and how could He allow me to go through this and suffer this much? And so that's just from like your everyday person. That's kind of, I think, the most common angle of why people have a hard time believing in God. Within the confines of this objection, there's other reasons people don't believe in God, but that's within the confines of the objection. I think that's kind of the most common, somewhat emotionally driven reason. So given that that we've now laid the foundation for what the objection is, and kind of where someone that has that objection is coming from, then we'll take a look at, I think, 3 responses that will help us formulate a worldview that can make sense of the way that we experience evil. And I word it that way particularly because I don't want to say that it'll make sense of evil, because I feel like wording it that way minimizes the evil that we experience, and it just makes me sound like a cold-hearted person that can't possibly understand what people are going through and isn't sympathizing or empathizing with people's suffering. So I don't want to do that. I want this discussion to be productive. So I'm saying how it will make sense of the way we experience evil and suffering in the world. So the very first response is actually a particular Christian response. So we talked about the idea of theism, and the 2 of the 3 responses will actually be theistic responses. But then the first response is a particular to Christianity, and that is that man is fallen. So the first point is that man is fallen, and we've spent a lot of time on this channel talking about sin nature and the idea that man is broken and in a state of rebellion against God. And so, as a Christian, I believe, and we believe, that God created the world initially as a place for sinless humans to coexist with one another and with the world that He created and designed, and that over time, at one point, mankind decided to disobey Him and entered into a state of rebellion by their own choosing, to live according to their own lifestyle and standards, as opposed to the standards that God had perfectly designed for the world. So, because we entered that state, we allowed, as humans that disobeyed God, we allowed in the just by extension of disobeying, we allowed in a variety of different evils: selfishness, greed, pride, lust, and more things that came about by us rejecting God's path. So we chose our own path. So therefore, by extension, it makes sense that if we allow those things in, then the output of that decision is that we will experience a variety of evils caused by other human beings that will result in suffering. For example, greed can result in the sin of greed can result in other people being in a state of poverty, for example. Or pride can result in saying things we don't mean, not seeking help when we need help, not contributing to the love and care of a community the way that we should, and that can result in a variety of different types of suffering. And so that affects both sides. The person that's doing the sinful act is negatively affected because they're engaging in sin and furthering their rebellion against God. And then on the other side, the people that are affected by the sin oftentimes suffer as a result of that. So we shouldn't be surprised then that with the sinful state of man, the fallen state of man, that sin exists and sin causes sin results in acts of evil and resulting suffering in other humans. So that kind of takes care of the first part of it, which is that foundational idea that man is in a fallen state. So it makes sense that there's evil acts committed and that suffering exists because of that decision to rebel against God. Now, the other part of this too is you might be wondering, well, what about things like tornadoes, natural disasters, floods, things that humans can't necessarily control, or at least not directly control. Think whatever you want about global warming. I can't cause a tornado to happen. So when a tornado happens and it ravages a town in the middle of Nebraska, for example, that's an act of a natural disaster that results in suffering. We don't call that evil because a tornado isn't sentient, so it can't itself desire or choose to do anything. It's just an event, but it results in suffering, and so then we have to deal with that. What if sin nature doesn't account for the actions of inanimate objects or inanimate things like tornadoes? So how do we deal with that? Well, my response to that would be that when we rebelled against God, we opened the door to the earth as well, our dwelling place, being thrown into a state of chaos and disorder and decay. And so God allows things like natural disasters to occur as a result of that, as a result of us choosing to reject the creation that we were given, the perfect home that we were given as humans. So that would be my response. There are other responses to it, but that would be, I think, my main response. So that sets us up. That's point number one. Man is fallen, and we can also, I think, address by extension of that the existence of natural disasters and things that cause suffering, even though the events themselves we wouldn't call evil per se. So let me look at. So we did get an exotic. We got this plate. So 47 precision, 44, 51. So it's better everything. 20% increased damage and defense while Bass Chosen is active. Okay. Increase the duration of Bass Chosen by 8.5 seconds. That's powerful. Melee attacks slowly regenerate willpower while Percussive Blast is active. Okay, so we're definitely going to switch that out. Okay, so we got our first Black Panther exotic. Cool. Okay, so what other farming are we allowed to do for exotics at this point? Increase the stun damage of all heavy combo finishers by 20%. Increase the damage of all pounce attacks by 10%. Increase the damage of all sprint, dodge, and wall attacks. I like pounce. Pouncing is really fun, so we're going to do that. Performing a takedown generates an intrinsic orb. Performing a takedown generates a heroic orb. Performing a takedown forces enemies to drop a regen pack. Okay, I always like it when they drop heroic orbs. So we'll keep rolling with that. So we got 6 more slots to fill out before he hits level 50. So if we go to objectives, see, we only did like 2. Defeat enemies with light or heavy combo enders. What's a combo ender? I have to look this up. Unless one of you guys have an answer. Avengers combo ender. Sorry, I'll edit this part out of the discussion breakout. I really want the discussion breakout videos to be just the discussion, not also talking about the game, because the people that choose to watch that playlist are only going to want to hear stuff about the discussion and not about the game. So oh, there's even a Reddit post about this specific quest line. So use percussive blast, then spam range attack. The final hit counts as a combo ender. Okay, so it's just, I guess, exactly what it says, which is the last hit of a combo has to be the hit that kills them, but then you also have to be in Bast's Chosen, it says, right? So, okay. I don't mind if we keep doing threat sectors. Okay, so continuing on with the discussion, argument number 2 is differentiating between evil and unnecessary / excessive evil and suffering. So we know that evil does exist in the world. No Christian would argue, no rational Bible-believing Christian would argue that evil doesn't exist. That's not the argument. Evil does exist. The turning point in this argument about the problem of evil rests largely on whether there is unnecessary or excessive evil that is beyond what needed to be there, and so we have to look at that a little bit deeper. So the claim is that we experience what we think are excessive evil and excessive suffering in the world, and therefore, if God existed and He's all powerful, then He would be able to at least eliminate the excessive evil that exists. He may not be able to eliminate all evil, and if you read any of the philosophical literature on this issue, you'll find that nobody on the non-Christian side of the spectrum tries to argue that God can eliminate all evil. That's just not something that's credibly argued anymore. And if you don't believe me, you can just do some research and read some brief articles or look at the literature. That argument has been settled. So the argument is that we perceive excessive and unnecessary evil and suffering, and so therefore God doesn't exist because He would stop it if it was passing the point of necessary to unnecessary. So that's the claim anyway, and the response to that is that, well, first of all, in order to be able to make a claim like that, we are, let's just be honest about our position as human beings, we are finite human beings. We have a finite perspective, which not only, it doesn't allow us to see, the percentage of things that we perceive about the world and the universe is so minuscule and small compared to the percentage of things that could be perceived, to the percentage of things that actually exist in the universe. And so we have to first of all humble ourselves about what our perspective is. We just don't have the very much data about the state of what is going on, and more significantly, why things are going on. So that's the first point to make. Now, on the flip side, Christians will argue, of course, that God is infinite in his wisdom, knowledge, power, and so God is the only entity with the capacity and the ability to perceive all of every event, every thought, every action, every piece of data, and because we also believe that he is sovereignly in control, we also believe that he is knowledgeable of all and crafted all the reasons for why everything happens the way that it happens. So we have to understand that Christians posit, and we posit, and when I say Christians, and I don't include myself directly, I just always include me in that because I am a Christian, but I'll say we sometimes, but just don't get that confused. So we posit that God is the only entity that has that ability and capacity, so therefore we have to recognize that there's a difference between what we can perceive and what God can perceive, and what God is in control of. So that's a really important starting point for understanding the next point, which is that in order to be able to claim that evil and suffering is unnecessary or excessive, we would have to be in a position to know what constitutes unnecessary and excessive. We would need all the requisite background information and data about that event or action, whether it be a natural disaster or another human being acting. We would need to have all of the background information and requisite data about that event in order to be able to make a claim like, this is unnecessary or this is excessive, even though it may be perceived that way, because for all we know it looks like that. But that cuts both ways. For all we know it looks like that, but for all we know it also may not be that way. It also may not be unnecessary or excessive. And I think just from a epistemological standpoint, we have to accept that there's enough that we don't know about the reasons why things happen that we can't confidently claim that for certainty, or even not even just not certain, but even that it's even likely that there is unnecessary suffering and evil in the world, unnecessary and excessive. So the for all we know argument's very important, and there's a whole host of literature on this. If you want to look up skeptical theism, there's been a lot of good philosophical work done on skeptical theism in the last 10, 20 years. So if you guys are more interested in reading up more about that, I strongly encourage you to read about that. There's a philosopher by the name of Stephen Weikstra, who he's a Christian, and he's written some really, really good articles and work, done a lot of really good work on this concept of skeptical theism as a response to the problem of evil. So encourage you guys to look more into that. But I think that stands as enough for our point number 2 about the finite versus infinite perspective, us versus God, and then the evil, for all we know, argument that for all we know, we're not in a position to, we don't have the requisite background information to know that something is unnecessary or excessive. So the final argument that I want to posit here to close out the discussion for this topic tonight is God's sovereignty. So we touched on this a little bit in the previous point, but one of the key elements of this discussion is the idea that God's in control of things, and God has a plan, and he not only designed the world, but he also decreed that all the actions that would take place would actually take place. And so that idea is really important because it means that God designed these events to happen. He's not pleased that they happen, in the sense that God does not take any pleasure in seeing sin in the world any more than he took pleasure in people abandoning him and rebelling against him. But he did in his perfect plan decree that these things would happen. And so in order to make any kind of sense of his creation and what he has decreed, we have to first recognize that he's sovereign, and so he did create the world and design these things to occur. So he knows how all the pieces fit together, namely the evil and not just the evil, because we can focus in on the evil, but we lose perspective of the resulting goods that can come from that evil. And as Christians, we believe that in his sovereign plan, he has, and in Scripture it says that God works the good for those who love him, and that concept is related to our discussion in that he has designed there to be good that comes from trials, from challenges, from evil, and from suffering. And that oftentimes, as we can see, we can see anecdotally, that there are evils and sufferings that result in even greater goods. And so that has to be taken into account as well. We can't just look at the evil, we can't just look at the suffering. We have to also look at what were the resulting goods that came from it. So, from a more particularly Christian standpoint, God's sovereignty greatly comes into effect when we talk about trust. When we've submitted to him and we say, Lord, I've sinned, I'm repenting of my sin, I accept Christ as my Lord and Savior, I need you to work in my life. We trust him with our life, and we trust him with the hardship and the suffering in our lives to produce proven character and hope that makes us into better servants and makes us more like Christ, more like His Son. And there are very few things that we can go through in life where we won't have the response of, yeah, that was worth it in order to become more like Christ. I can't think of a single time in my life where some evil or suffering happened that I was able to identify as resulting in a change in my life to become more like Christ, and then thinking, oh man, yeah, I really wish that thing hadn't happened. I've always believed it to be worth it. You may not feel that in the moment, and oftentimes when we're really suffering and we're in the dumps, we don't feel that way. And that's understandable, because we have our emotions can be very strong, and we're not always able to see the bigger picture when we're in the middle of a trial. But at the end of it, once we've had some distance from the emotional side of things, we're able to see the wonderful things that God's done in our lives to work through that hardship. And that has to be taken into account as well, as we look at the problem of evil and suffering in our own lives as well as in the world around us. So that was our discussion topic for tonight. What do we do about evil in the world, aka the problem of evil? We went through 3 points tonight. We talked about how man is fallen. We talked about evil versus unnecessary / excessive evil and suffering. We talked about the finite versus infinite perspective as part of that. And then our 3rd point was God's sovereignty. So I hope you guys enjoyed our discussion for the night, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment on YouTube in the comments below, or send me a message on Twitch. I will read anything you guys write, and if the questions are honest and sincere and show a desire to really engage in the discussion, that doesn't mean you agree. It just means that you're cordial in wanting to engage in the discussion. Then I will respond to them. So just feel free to do that, and I usually am pretty quick about responding. So feel free to reach out, and we'll further discussion by talking about each of these subtopics more. So that closes out our discussion for tonight. And our next topic is going to be, is this the only way? Is there only one way to salvation? Is there only one way to God? So we'll talk about that in our stream tomorrow night. So I don't know when I'm going to get these videos uploaded, to be honest. I'm still working through kind of getting the foundation set up for the channel. So I got the intro video uploaded. I'm going to try to publish that tomorrow, and then I'll start cutting the breakouts soon. And I think that the cutting and editing for those should be pretty quick, and allow me to post the videos faster. So right now I'm just kind of getting into that rhythm, so it's going to take a little bit longer, but I can say that I will be spending some time over each weekend to try to get, if I'm not able to cut the video that night or the next day, I'm planning on a minimum at least cutting the videos, editing the videos, and publishing them in the breakout playlist over the weekend. And I should be able to handle all of the videos for that week at once. So I'll take all 4 videos, all 4 streams, cut them down, and then post them in the breakout playlist.
very much enjoyed that.
So I don't think that I really
Last protector.
progressed that quest at all. I might have gotten a couple, but I wasn't really trying because I was focusing on the discussion, so I'm not really sure how much progress we made.
Another fuse that is over and done with. Thank you for that. We cannot allow Claw to poison our most precious resource out of carelessness and greed.
Vibranium damage or plasma damage. I guess I'll stick with plasma for now. What's this? Sonic damage. Oh, it's sonic damage that I really need to be doing, right? That's going to be more beneficial than gamma damage. But the stats are worse. Okay. Well, I'll stick with what I have for now. Increase the maximum amount of times a devastating dagger debuff can stack by +1. Swap out the dagger thrown in the ranged combat finisher with a Kapinga dagger. Swap out the dagger thrown in the ranged combat finisher with a kinetic dagger. I'm not even sure what those are, to be honest. So how much progress did we make? None, probably. Yeah, we didn't make any. So what I'm curious about is, and I mentioned this a couple nights ago, or last week too, but this is a limited time event. These vibranium threat sectors end on September 2nd. So right now we can play the missions to get the specialty gear, which I'm assuming has something to do with the vibranium element on each piece of gear. But once the event's over, how are we going to get that gear? Is it going to come back later? Is it just going to go into the loot pool? What's our access point for getting that stuff? Because I know for a fact I'm not going to grind out all these characters for all of their vibranium stuff. So what's the catch there? Like, if I don't get around to it in the next 8 days, how am I going to get access to it later? So we'll do one more mission and then call it a night. So I guess one thing we can talk about for a little bit is kind of the plan for the next couple weeks.
Those Inhumans need our help.
So
Let's go get our people.
I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, but I'll mention it again. I don't think this game is going to have a whole lot more legs for me. Some guy's talking over the mic. I don't know. You guys might be able to hear that. Maybe not. But I don't think this game's going to have a lot more legs for me because my main goal was to play through the campaign, level up Black Panther to at least 140. I wanted to at least get him to the soft cap, or the hard cap, I guess you call it, 130. And then try to do some of the end game stuff. So like we're grinding for some exotics. I want to try the OLT. But then after that, I don't really feel like there's anything more that I want to do. I'm not going to spend time leveling up all my other characters. I'm just not interested in doing that because there really isn't any content to strive for. Like there's just not really any end game. I think once they add, if they add another OLT or the AIM cloning labs, like I'll come back for that. So I think you guys can expect Avengers to be on this channel. I'll probably do one more stream tomorrow night. I think we're going to try to do the OLT tomorrow. And then after that, starting on, I guess, Thursday, I guess we may, depending on how much fun we have with that, I may just finish out the week with Avengers. So Thursday's up in the air. But then after that, let's just say for the sake of discussion that I do end up playing Avengers on Thursday. Then I will be starting another game on Monday. And I've been thinking about it, and I either want to go back to Godfall, because I am really enjoying that. I've been playing it some off stream, and I've been having a really good time with it. So I may do some Godfall, and then perhaps mix a single player game in with that. So there's a bunch of stuff in my backlog right now. There's a game called Grime, which is a 2D kind of Souls-like Metroidvania game that I want to play. There's a... Let's see, I know there's a couple others. I might be going blank. Oh, a game called Eldest Souls, which is like a boss, basically like an ISO view, like top-down ISO view, Souls-like boss rush game, pixel art, and that would be on PS5. And then I don't know if I'm going to play Destiny on stream. I haven't figured that out. That directory is really saturated, so I don't really know if it would be wise for building this channel to play that on stream. But let me know if you guys want that. If you guys would want to watch that, because if you do, then I would definitely consider streaming it. But as of right now, I think just trying to stick in the directory of some of these smaller games that just don't have as many streamers is going to give me a higher chance of getting new viewership in. So Godfall and Avengers are both pretty small directories. In fact, Godfall's really small right now. I think there's only like 50 people watching or something like that. Marvel has closer to 1,000 daily. So I would, it's a little bit more saturated there, but it's not that bad.
humans caught in a standoff up ahead.
Nice work, team. Yeah. Yeah.
I've detected another pocket of corrupted vibranium.
They must be joking. You all did it.
Clusters have been destroyed. I will use this data to attempt to identify their component molecules.
We shall take them all down.
Backup has arrived. Protect those Inhumans.
We will defeat them all.
These guys are too weak for me to progress that quest at all.
Face Wakanda. Nice try.
I'm trying to do the percussive blast, but sometimes the triggers get really annoying with that. It just doesn't let me do it.
Head for the location on your HUD. Your objective is ahead. I've detected another pocket of corrupted vibranium.
So I did most of the leveling off stream actually, and I figured out a really cool method for doing it. I don't know if anybody else has done this. I'm sure they have, and they probably beat me to the punch. But what I did was I did Up from the Depths, which is the Black Widow mission, and I think it's in the snowy tundra.
We are not alone.
I think, I don't remember. Anyway, it's called Up from the Depths, and there's at the very beginning there's a high priority target that you can kill, and he doesn't usually give you a piece of gear, but he does give you a bunch of XP.
This vein of corrupted vibranium has been destroyed.
But the key part of it is that the mission, you don't do the whole mission. You stop before the last room, because the last room is just a bunch of enemies and a bunch of objectives. There's no chests, and completing the mission I think might give you one piece of gear, but it really doesn't. It's the time reward ratio is not sorry, the guy who was talking is not very good. So you quit out of the mission and you return to the Quinjet before you get to that final objective. But the key is that there's 9 times out of 10 there's one of those loot goblin guys in one of the earlier kind of mid-stage rooms in the mission, and he drops like 6 or 7 pieces of gear every time. And so, sorry, these guys are really distracting. I'm trying to figure something out. I can't even really hear them because I have headphones in. I think they're trying to do something before we do the main objective, it sounds like. Which is fine, I'll let them do it. So I was getting, between chests and the loot goblin, I was getting a good like 12 pieces of gear every run, and each run was only taking maybe 10 minutes. And then I would get almost a full character level each time as well. About anywhere from 3/4 to a full level, depending on how far in the mission I got. Because sometimes the loot goblin would spawn early, in which case I would just kill him, get the loot, and then start the mission over. Sometimes he would spawn in the room right before the last event, the last room of the mission, and so I'd have to go through, 80% of the mission to get to him. And it really was very consistent in that I think I did the mission 15 times, and he only ever didn't show up twice. So it was just a very, very efficient way to do it. I don't know if that's always been the case. Like, I don't know if there's always been a loot goblin there. But there was for me like 13 out of 15 times approximately, so. If you're looking for a fast way to level up your character, that's what I would recommend. It took me, I think, to level up from, post-campaign, because the campaign was like a good 4 or 5 hours. And I think I was at like level 20, gear level 30, 40-ish. To level the rest of the way, in terms of gear level, took me like 5 or 6 hours. Pretty much just grinding that mission, which it is a repetitive grind, but it's not that bad. And it's so rewarding that with the amount of loot you get, it kind of just stays interesting. It really wasn't that bad.
That's the objective, the little thing to take you there. We gotta defeat all enemies before we can progress. There's somebody that's still here that I can't see. Probably glitched on the floor somewhere.
So what is he trying to do? Is the objective not progressing? Is our enemy glitched out and stuck on the floor? Well, you know what, it's already past midnight, I gotta go to bed. I only got a few hours of sleep last night. And if this is glitched, there's no reason for me to stick around, so...
I have to restart it from the last checkpoint.
I'm just gonna quit out, sorry guys. They can't hear me say sorry, but I'm apologizing anyway. All right, well, I think I'm gonna wrap it up for tonight. Thanks so much, guys, for coming out. If you enjoyed either the just the chill gameplay or the discussion breakout tonight, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Follow me on Twitch. Even subscribe on Twitch if you like. If you don't know, if you're not aware, if you have an Amazon Prime membership, you get a free Twitch subscription that you can use on one Twitch streamer each month. And so if you enjoyed the channel, please consider doing that. And you can also like any of the videos on YouTube as well. So I appreciate all your engagement, all of you guys that came out for any amount of time, whether it be just a few minutes or the full stream. I appreciate it a lot. I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' comments and feedback regarding the discussion tonight, as well as the new breakout series intro video that I'm going to be publishing in the next day or two. So be looking for that, notifications on that in YouTube. Tomorrow night I'm planning on logging in closer to 9:30 like we've been doing in the past, so I'm going to try to get a good 2.5 hour stream in tomorrow night, especially since tonight was much shorter. We only had about an hour and a half tonight. So thanks again so much, guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful day tomorrow. God bless, and I will see you tomorrow night.